Kurisu may be gone, but at the very least, we have a wonderful female character like Suzu to hold the fort down and be able to demonstrate multiple times throughout this series of Steins Gate Zero that she is truly a great character. So, can we talk about how amazing that one line from Suzu was? When she looks at Kagari and is like, if you hurt my papa, my dad, in any way, I will kill you. And I'm like, yo, Suzu, it really goes to show how battle-hardened she has gotten over the course of her life. As we know, Suzu is someone that had to live in a future with World War III. She got to see all the horrific things that humanity does to each other, and, I don't even want to begin to imagine how horrible it must have been to live in an era like that. And she's seen a lot. She's basically a child soldier, and seeing her say that towards Kagari, which, has been with her for a very long time, and she knows full well how Kagari has so much weight to certain people around her, for instance, Mayuri and all that, her saying what she said, like, if you hurt my dad, I will kill you, that's powerful. And I really, really love that scene. It shows that she truly does love her father. You mess with her family, she will end you. And that makes me wonder if Suzu will be pushed to that point in Steins Gate Zero, or what is that just, what we got to see, just her saying that she would do something like that? Will we ever get to see hands-on her doing something horrific like that to someone that she might have known for a very long time? Which could potentially still happen to Kagari, which, let's get into that can of worms. So Kagari, we knew she was brainwashed. Okay, we already had this established. We knew this. Okay, that was, something we all know by now. But the thing is that Kagari, she was in the suit. She was in the biker suit. And I'm just like, huh? Like, when that popped up, I want to be honest here, I had this, vibe that it might have been Kagari that was in that suit in this episode, but then I started thinking, it most likely couldn't be, because, when we think about the events from the past, Kagari was in different points around the town, so there was no way that she could have been that person, so I'm like, most likely it's not Kagari, so I'm like, who the hell is this and all that, and when we finally got the reveal, I'm like, what? And I'm very thankful that Steins Gate Zero went out of its way to let us know that, yes, it doesn't make sense how Kagari is this person right now. And we already saw multiple times throughout the previous exchanges with this, biker character, that most likely, it's someone else. So seeing that established and, relaying that information to us once again, it makes me respect the series, letting us know that, yes, it's fully aware that this could have been a plot hole if, it wasn't properly explained. And it does make me wonder now, though, who is the original person that tried to, get Kagari and all that, the one that invaded the lab? Who was that? Who was that person? That's still up for debate, because even though we got to see Kagari as a soldier in this episode, it's still not established who that person was attacking Okabe and all of them. So that's what I'm wondering right now. Who was that? As I've talked about a couple times throughout my previous episode reviews of Steins Gate Zero, I've said that, it could have potentially have been, Suzuha's mother, but after the events of the previous episodes, it seems like she's kind of been crossed out. There's, no way she could potentially be, a traitor or something. And I said the only other person that could potentially be would be the person that's been working with the doctor, the professor that, was calling, our main male character, Okabe, the third Einstein, or second Einstein, whatever. That's the only person I could assume it could be. So that is still potentially possible, but at this time, though, seeing what happened to Kagari, we know now that people are very active with, brainwashing her, and they're definitely trying to get her to do something, but it also seems like Kagari is not being controlled properly, because, she was there at the shop. she was there at the like the lab or whatever, and she dropped, her, actual gift from her mother. And it makes you wonder, for her to drop something like that and then go out off the deep end and attack Suzu, thinking that Suzu has it. It makes you wonder, like, was she following orders because she's been brainwashed, or is it because she's so messed up and mentally disturbed that she was just going out of her way to do something and she really didn't comprehend what was going on? She was going against orders or something. So we don't really have that explained whatsoever, but at the very least, one thing we can pull out of this scene is that Kagari, she's not completely brainwashed. There is some remnants of her original self, because throughout the exchange between Suzu and Kagari, you have it to where she's only wanting the, the gift from her mother back, the metal Upa. She's like, give it back, I know you have it. And like I said, we don't really know if the person that is controlling her sent her there and, put the, the metal Upa there. We have really no idea. But whatever the case may be, she has a strange attachment to it, which we know she loves her mother, which is Mayuri. And that would mean that she still cares about Mayuri. She wouldn't want to, bring harm to Mayuri, even though she is brainwashed. So effectively, the only person that could probably fix her or help her out in time of need would be Mayuri going up to her and snapping her out of it, which, like I already said a couple episode reviews ago, most likely Mayuri is going to have to sing the song. She's going to have to sing that song to Kagari to be able to snap her out of it, because remember, multiple times she said throughout this episode is that she heard a voice of God, which most likely correlates with that song she heard on the street, and the only song that could probably snap her back out of it would be Mayuri's song of what she sings to her. So yeah, I feel like that's going to be like an entire loop thing going on with Kagari. But anyways, okay, let's stop there for now, and let's talk about the fact that in this episode, we had a massive time skip. Yeah, a big time skip. Like, we're no longer near Christmas anymore. We're pretty much in summertime for Steins Gate 0, which effectively means that an entire year has almost passed since the events of Steins Gate, the OG Steins Gate with Kurisu's death, almost an entire year. And as we already know, that's been established a while back, that once a year passes, Suzu can't go back in time to correct that date. For instance, it'll be too late for her to travel back in time, make it to where, she could force Okabe to, go to, the Steins Gate world line. That no longer will be possible. So, time is ticking, it's getting very close, and if something isn't done, obviously, it's GG. Kurisu is never going to be able to get saved. This Okabe is never going to be able to be happy. Now, another thing, too, is that Okabe, he has obviously moved on with his life. He is trying to become a better scientist, someone that can, correct and, defend this timeline, because he is now looking towards the future, which you can see represented in the opening song. He seems a little bit more lighthearted. He seems someone that is not depressed and gloomy like he was in the previous opening song. He is someone that's looking towards the bright blue sky to try to correct the world. Even though he has given up on the potential possibility of ever going back in the past, he wants to at the very least save this world line. And so seeing that opening song and seeing what he was doing throughout this episode, wanting to, go to a university and all that Kurisu is at later on in his life, shows that he has moved on. He's not letting Kurisu's death, drag him down any longer. He's moving forward to try to make this world a much better place. And I find that really cool by the way that was done and how that was reflected throughout the episode, and how a lot of our characters, like, Daryu, and how, Suzu or Mayuri, how they're very aware that Okabe has decided to move forward, and that they have to figure out in their own way of how to save this world line or correct their, the problems with this world line without Okabe's help. It's kind of like saying, Okabe, he's done. He's done. He doesn't want to deal with anything with time travel. He's going to go about it his own way, and Daryu and Suzu, they were very aware of this. If Okabe even knew what, they were trying to do right now, obviously he would go in and just smash all that like it's nothing, and so they're keeping him out of the loop, which is pretty cool when you think about it, because that means that what we're going to be seeing these characters do is something that we haven't really heard or seen about, because we know the original, Okabe, and how he, eventually sent the message to his other self to be able to go into the Steins Gate world line. We never really knew about the events that took place to lead to that, and most likely what, Daryu and, Suzu are doing probably leads to that very event, to where he's eventually going to find out about time travel and give it a chance, which that is something I do want to talk about. In the opening song, it's very quick, very brief, but you see a old Hoin Kyoma in the opening, and I'm like, is that who I think it is? Is that our mad scientist? I'm like, yo, Like that was really cool seeing something like that. Seeing in that brief little opening that we got to see the original, white lab coat and all that with this man, looking like he appears to be back. I'm pretty excited about that because, I mean, let's be real here. We all miss the original Okabe. We all miss how he was in the original Steins Gate, and I can't wait for when he finally comes back. It's like, bahaha, like, how Daryu keeps saying throughout these recent episodes. So, I do hope that happens. I can't wait to see that happen, because my hype is through the roof for when that moment does go down. But yeah, shelving that now, let's talk about the other events of this episode, which is a little brief exchange between Daryu and his daughter, Suzu, and now you can clearly see that Suzu's starting to realize that her father is really being a true man, and you're starting to represent what she knows or how she remembers him in the future world line. As we know, Daryu right now, he's kind of a younger version of himself, obviously, and he's not reached that point to where he's probably as mature as he is in the future. And Suzu, most likely, seeing her father act the way he does, he acts like a very younger self, and, he's very bubbly and all that. He probably hasn't changed a whole lot, but, overall, he probably doesn't have that, level of maturity about him that he probably had in the future with what happened to this timeline. And when you see that exchange between Suzu and Daryu, he's like, I will go out of my way, talk to Maho to make sure this time machine is made. I'll make sure that is done. Do not worry. Leave it to me. And you saw how, his back was to Suzu, and Suzu saw him, and we saw her smile. It's kind of like she's like, I respect, my father, what he's trying to do. And that was the first true time we've seen in recent episodes that he's gotten really serious. He is not joking around. He definitely wants to make a time machine to be able to save the world line, and eventually, Okabe will make the decision to fix the world line and use Reading Steiner to go to the, the Steins Gate world line. Find that very cool, by the way. But, okay, so next thing to talk about, one of the last things I want to talk about is the stuff with Maho. Maho, she feels inferior, obviously. This was already established in the past couple episodes, but we get to see an image, like the imagery of this one scene right here, where you see Kurisu in the foreground, and you see Maho in the background, and you see how she's in Kurisu's shadow. I think that's pretty on the nose. Like, I think everybody's going to understand what that, scene meant. For instance, Maho was always in the shadow of Kurisu. She's always inferior. No matter how good she was, she could never compete with Kurisu because of how excellent her mind was, and I thought that scene was really cool, and that's definitely going to play a big part probably of the story, and also Maho as a character, with her trying to surpass Kurisu in her own way, which eventually that's where she comes to her conclusion at the end of the episode. She realizes that she can never become Kurisu. She cannot do everything that Kurisu has done. She perfected a time machine, or almost perfected a time machine with Okabe in the other world lines, and she is very aware of this, and throughout her entire life, since she met Kurisu, she's been following in her footsteps, trying to do what she has always done. But then she realized, like, wait a minute. Instead of trying to copy her and using her research, I should come to my own conclusion. I should follow the path she did. For instance, Kurisu, to get to where she was, she had to do a lot of research herself and look into everything to eventually come to the conclusion she had in the OG Steins Gate. And Maho's like, you know what, I will go to her, origin, the beginning, what started it all, and then I will learn myself. I will go through it and figure out my own analysis on how to make a time machine. So effectively, what this means is that Maho, she is going to be going through trial and error to make a time machine, which most likely is going to be vastly different from whatever Kurisu is ever capable of. As we know, the time leap machine that was used, or the D-Mail, is a very inefficient form of time travel when you think about it, and most likely Maho is going to make something that probably far surpasses or is completely different to what Kurisu came to in the OG Steins Gate, which, like I said, is pretty freaking cool. But that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode of Steins Gate. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below, and if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, and with that, please be safe. Chibi out.